Hi, everyone. I'm Emily Dolson. I'm an assistant professor at Michigan State University in computer science, ecology, evolution, and behavior. I'm really excited to talk to you all today. Okay, so it looks like the first question is what sparked your interest in artificial life? And that's kind of a hard question for me to answer because kind of up until grad school, I was really kind of subtly panicking. I had this lurking fear that I was interested in too many different things and I wasn't going to be able to narrow it down enough to kind of figure out what I was going to focus my career on. I was really fortunate in college and even before that I got to kind of try out a lot of different projects so that I could learn how much I enjoyed all of these things. I tried things, ranging from studying sea otter behavior, which I loved, to studying kind of, using genetic algorithms to evolve robots, which I also loved, even though that was obviously very different. I did a project where I was kind of mapping kind of where in space in the forest next to my college different plants were and trying to understand the rules that govern those patterns. And I loved doing that. I even did this really cool kind of summer project where I was modeling complex systems and I was learning about kind of the different simple rules that can govern complex behaviors like flocking in birds. I loved that too. I just loved all of these things. And so, by the time I was like, my junior year of college, I was really concerned about how I was going to narrow it down. And the thing that was really fortuitous that happened was I was working on two different projects at the same time, and I kind of was able to contrast them with each other. So one was a project on invasive plants where I was doing field ecology. I was growing plants in greenhouses. And I realized I really did not like the day-to-day work of that project. The plants in my greenhouses died. I really don't have a green thumb. I always want to have a really large sample size, which means I overworked myself. It was just kind of a struggle. But I really loved the question that I was trying to answer. Then at the same time, I was doing this bioinformatics project where I was kind of trying to help improve this tool to determine the structure of proteins. And I loved the day-to-day work there, the programming, the debugging, all of that was really fun. But I was less interested in the overarching question. And so that kind of helped me finally put the pieces together that what I wanted to do was use, computational systems to answer questions about ecology and evolution. So I started looking for graduate programs that kind of combined ecology, evolution, and computer science, and kind of combined them all as legitimate things that I was going to improve my knowledge of. And what I found was a bunch of labs doing artificial life research. And that was kind of when all of the pieces fell into place and everything clicked. And I realized that actually all of those things I'd done before that I had loved and not known how to fit together, the things I loved most about them were artificial life. And really, since I've started doing artificial life research, I've actually kind of used aspects of all of those projects in what I've done. It really is kind of the umbrella that unites all of my interests. And I just hadn't noticed it before because I hadn't heard of artificial life. So I went and did my PhD in an artificial life lab, and I'm still doing artificial life research now. And it's really just the perfect way for me to ask the questions that I'm interested in while using the techniques that I enjoy the most. And that let me kind of contribute what I am best suited to contributing. Obviously, for answering biological questions, it's also really important to have lab and field research. And so I'm able to collaborate with lots of really great lab and field biologists while still making a contribution that I'm really well suited to make and that I really enjoy making. So it's worked out really well, even if it was a little bit of a circuitous road to get there. Okay, next question. Next question is, can you explain one of your most exciting or surprising findings? So I don't know if this is exactly surprising, but I find it really exciting. And I think, maybe it would be surprising if I hadn't had to think about it so much to kind of come to it. So it's about kind of the intersection between ecology and something called evolutionary computation. So evolutionary computation is basically this area of machine learning where people use evolutionary principles to do the machine learning. So basically, you start with a population of things that might be solutions to whatever problem you're trying to solve. So, maybe you're trying to evolve a controller for a robot, let's say. You might start out with a bunch of random controllers, and when you use them on the robots are all going to fall over. It's not going to be very good, but some of them will maybe stand up a little bit longer than others. And so you can select those ones that are slightly better than all the others, and you can make copies of them, and you can make slight modifications to those copies. And if you keep doing that over and over again, evolution is kind of going to do its thing, and you're going to usually, assuming you've set everything up right, end up with controllers that can actually control the robot pretty well. And so this is a general approach that you can use to solve a lot of different computational problems. The challenge is there's a ton of different kind of evolutionary algorithms that all sound very similar, and kind of choosing which one to use where, or understanding why some work on one problem where others don't, can be really challenging. And that can kind of hold back progress in designing new and better evolutionary algorithms, or even just using the ones we already have better. So what I found is that we can actually use a lot of the work that ecologists have already done on developing kind of theory to understand and predict ecology, to understand and predict these evolutionary algorithms. Because it turns out that a lot of these evolutionary algorithms, people hadn't really noticed this, but under the hood, they have ecology. And by ecology here, I mean they have interactions between the members of the populations. And the reason this happens is that a lot of the time when people go to select which individuals get to reproduce, they don't just select the best ones. Because it turns out if you just select the best ones, you often end up with some kind of mediocre solution that's just easy to find. It's a lot better usually to try to maintain a diverse set of different solutions. And so over time, you'll kind of be able to explore more different kind of paths through the space of possible solutions. And so trying to choose a diverse set of solutions ends up basically meaning that the population acts like it's competing for resources, because it's kind of competing for the space of this is the solution that's the best of this subset of solutions. Then there's different ways that this shakes out, but basically you end up with competition, differential competition between the members of the population. And it's actually perfectly predicted by ecological theory and principles. And so what I've been doing now is just figuring out kind of how far we can push this. How much can we learn about evolutionary algorithms by treating them like an instance of ecology? Okay, last question is, what is one big unanswered question in artificial life that you think could be important in the future? Well, my personal favorite is open-ended evolution. So open-ended evolution is basically this kind of question in artificial life that asks, so we have these artificial life systems that have evolution in them, and we have lots of them. We've been looking at their results, but none of them have produced something that's as complex as what we've seen produced by evolution on Earth, right? Nothing's produced humans or something like us. There's a lot of other kind of major events that we know happened in evolution of life on Earth that we haven't really seen arise supernaturally in artificial life systems. Like the evolution of things like eusocial insects like bees, where like kind of there's a collection of individuals that are sort of operating as a single unit. And people have done a lot of really great work on that and kind of pushed in that direction. But I think we haven't gotten like a really satisfying, not like hard-coded, just have something like that happen purely out of the blue. So there's lots of things like that we don't see in artificial life systems yet. And the question is, why? What are they missing? And you might think, well, the obvious thing is they're missing 4 billion years and as much space as there is on the planet. And that's fair. It could be that that's all they're missing. But I think, people have provided a lot of good evidence over the years that that's actually not all they're missing, that there are maybe other kind of fundamental things that need to be present in a system to make it exhibit that level of complexity. And we don't know what they all are yet. But that's really interesting because it means we don't know everything that kind of makes evolution in nature tick. I think people historically kind of think that if you have mutation, differential reproductive success, and heritability, you're going to just get evolution. And that's true. But I think what open-ended evolution tells us is that to see kind of really complex evolution, there actually are some more things that you need. And so by kind of studying this question, we can learn what those are, which will inform our understanding of evolution in nature. And it will also allow us to make better, more lifelike artificial life systems. So it's really a win-win, and it kind of just ties into a lot of interesting other questions in evolution. So I think that's my favorite. Thanks, everyone.